Chapter 3, Part 1. Gawain slept that night in a bed as soft as summer clouds, and if dreams of his journey or the Green Knight troubled him, he did not remember them when he woke. The sun was high, the fresh snow shone, the world was glittering, and it was Christmas morning. All through that day, and the next, and the next, there was feasting and joyfulness in the castle of Sir Bertilac. Branches of greenery hung from the roof beams, and all under them everyone laughed and made merry. Drummers and pipers made music to dance to. Old songs were sung and old stories unfolded. At dinner, Gawain sat beside Bertilac's wife, who was eager to hear all that he could tell her of his life in Camelot and the ways of the court there. Even if she had not been so beautiful, Gawain would still have loved her, for she was wise and kind, and her laughter and stories made him almost forget the sharp edge of the axe blade that waited for him at the year's turning. One night, as Sir Gawain started upstairs to his chamber, Sir Bertilac came to him, smiling as always. "Tomorrow we ride out with the hounds. The hunting in my woods is as good as any you'd enjoy on the deer paths of King Arthur's forests." Then Sir Bertilac stopped. Perhaps he had seen the way Gawain's face fell, the way his shoulders sagged at the thought of having to leave the comfort and warmth of the castle and go out into the cold hills again. He slapped Gawain on the back and said, "Nay, lad, I'm forgetting. You've had a hard road behind you and a strange one ahead. Rest is what you need. You'll want your strength and your wits with you when you go to meet the Green Knight. So you stay here tomorrow and do whatever you wish. My wife will keep you company. I shall see you when I ride home at sundown." Gawain said his thanks and was about to turn away when Sir Bertilac added, "And I have an idea. Just in case you mind missing the sport, I'll make you a wager. Whatever I win in the woods, I'll give it to you. And whatever you win here while I'm gone, you'll give to me in exchange. Is that fair?" Gawain thought Sir Bertilac was joking. What could he hope to win, tucked up snug in his bed or sitting at a table? So he laughed and agreed and went on his way back to his chamber where his warm bed waited. A few hours later, when dawn was faintly silvering the cracks of sky around his shutters, Gawain half heard the hooves of the hunters' horses drumming on the drawbridge, the belling of the hounds and the hunting horns calling away in the woods. And he felt very glad that he was not out there with them in the frost, and turned over and went back to sleep. Out in the sunrise, the hounds flowed like water over the feet of the fells. Their baying filled the air like peals of Christmas bells, echoing among the wooded crags, setting the deep dales rising. Deer broke from their cover in the deep thickets. White tails flashing, they fled through the trees. Sir Bertilac let the harts pass, but beaters turned their hinds back, yelling, "Let and where!" driving them into a cleft of the hillside. There the hunters dropped from their saddles and took up their bows, loosing arrows which sped through the trees and bit deep into deer flesh. The beasts fell, thrashing and bleeding. Those that broke from the coombe were harried by hounds or by hunters who hared after them, with Sir Bertilac in the lead, laughing, filled with love of the hunt and the wild woods around him, his bow in his hand and his big horn booming. The horn calls echoing off the crags woke brave Gawain where he lay in his bed. Slim shafts of sunlight reached in through the shutters and fingered his bed curtains. He lay there, pleasantly quiet, thinking about getting up, until suddenly he heard the door of the chamber open. Someone was moving around outside the bed's closed curtains. A servant, he thought, come to tidy up and clean, until, through a gap in the curtains, he saw that it was Sir Bertilac's wife. He closed his eyes and pretended to sleep. But after a moment, she twitched open the curtains and sat down beside him on the edge of the bed. "Good morning, Sir Gawain," she said. "Not still asleep, surely. Is this how late they lie in the bed at Camelot?" "My lady," said Gawain, pretending to wake, "what brings you here?" "Why, you do," said Sir Bertilac's wife. "It's not every day that a brave and famous knight comes riding to us through the high hills all the wild way from Camelot, and I want to make the most of your visit. My husband and his men are all out at the hunt, my ladies are busy, my servants too. I'm lonely, and I want to hear more of your stories. So I have come to lay siege to you here until you tell them. You cannot escape. I've bolted the door, so no one can disturb us." "But I've told you all the tales I know," said Gawain, "and I'm not really such a brave and noble knight. I'm no one, really, the least of all the knights at Camelot." "Then tell me about the others," said the lady, laughing. And so he did, talking and talking while she sat and listened, watching him always. And at last, when he could think of no more, she said, "Perhaps what you say is true, and you're not brave or noble." "Why?" asked Gawain, who'd not really meant that bit. She blushed. "Because I should think that a knight who is brave and noble would at least offer a kiss to a lady. It's only polite. Perhaps you're not really one of Arthur's knights at all, but just a wanderer who has spun a tale about himself." "Well, if a kiss is what you want, then you shall have it," said Gawain. And she wrapped her arms around him and pulled him close to her and kissed him, and then sat back and smiled and said, "There, now I have what I longed for, and I shall leave you in peace, for this day at least." And when she had gone, Gawain got up and dressed and went downstairs into the hall, where a meal was being made ready for the hunters, who would soon be riding home.